Hey everyone, welcome to Buddhism Talks. Today is July 3rd, and for today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to focus on the chant and giving everyone access. Before today, I wanted to go back to the original purpose of Buddhism. That original purpose is captured in the Lotus Sutra. And those of us that do Gongyo every day, we say it every day in the last lines of Gongyo. And those last lines say, at all times, I think to myself, how can I cause living beings to gain entry into the unsurpassed way and quickly acquire the body of a Buddha? So the Buddha's heart is always thinking about how can I allow all people access to their potential, to their enlightened nature that's connected to the universe, and in the simplest of terms, realize how truly great they are. So that's the Buddha's heart. And if you want to simplify that heart, it really is about access. How do I give people access? In the earlier Buddhist teachings, because he was teaching according to people's capacity, women couldn't attain enlightenment, evil people couldn't attain enlightenment. There was limitations, but in the last 8 years of his life, he taught the Lotus Sutra. And at that point, he said, discard the other teachings as provisional, discard them as prep courses and partial truths. And then for the Lotus Sutra, he said, I'm going to teach according to my enlightenment. You're probably not going to understand it, but now I have to reveal the truth according to my enlightenment. And the Lotus Sutra is where all the limitations disappear. Everybody has access. Women, evil people, people of learning and realization, the different life conditions. So the Lotus Sutra is there to remove all limitations in terms of who can become a Buddha and who can bring out this Buddha nature. That's the Lotus Sutra. With the Lotus Sutra, you have theoretical access in principle, but your average person on the street did not have access unless they were connected to him, unless they were extra pure. And then we get to the 1200s with Nichiren Daishonin. And this is the greatness of Nichiren Daishonin, and which is why we do call him the Buddha for this time period, because he really tore down the limits in terms of who had access, because he revealed a chant, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. He inscribed a Gohonzon that we chant in front of that acts as a mirror to remind us of our Buddhahood and to remind us of our greatness. And now, all of a sudden, everybody had access. So the problem was for 700 years, that practice could not spread. People did not have access. And in Japan during those years, you practiced the religion of your neighborhood temple. So if you were born in a Shinto neighborhood, you practice Shinto. If you were born next to the Nichiren Shoshu temple, then you practice Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism. It didn't really spread from Japan until after the Second World War, particularly with the efforts of Tsunesabara Makaguchi, Jose Toda, and Daisaku Ikeda, the three presidents of the Soka Gakkai. That is when you had access worldwide. That's why now in 192 countries, there are SGI organizations where everybody technically has access. But the real access is the chant, the Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. That's the piece that allows my 65-year-old Croatian grandmother who could barely speak English access to Buddhahood. That's the true revolution. That is the ultimate access. So for today, I thought I would teach you how to chant and I would show you what it sounds like. For those of us that know how to chant, I'm hoping we can re-inspire ourselves to chant deeply, strongly, happily, and start maybe a fresh era of chanting. every single day we make a fresh determination. Every single day is a mini lifetime for us. So today is no different. Today is an opportunity, particularly it being July 3rd, to make a fresh start and maybe start a chanting campaign or just deepen our practice in some way starting from today. And I racked my brains in terms of how could I express chanting and the power of it in the simplest terms. So I thought about what cultural reference could I use to make the practice of chanting more accessible and more understandable. And my favorite one is Star Wars. So in Star Wars, they talk about a force. And if I go to the website and I read the first line of the definition, they say the force is a mysterious energy field created by life that binds the galaxy together. So this is very similar to the understanding that Buddhists have about the mystic law, this universal enlightened nature of life, this underlying functioning of life. So if you look at the definition, they say mysterious energy field. Another word for mysterious is unseen, and unfathomable. And absolutely, this underlying enlightened nature of life is unseen and unfathomable. Another aspect of Star Wars is that some people are aware of the existence of the Force. Others think it's ridiculous, including Han Solo in the beginning. However, there are other people that not only are they aware of it, they become really good at harnessing it and using it. And those are the Jedi. They also have a teacher. They have a Yoda that trains them in the use of this force. So that's similar to our Buddhist practice. We have great teachers. We have Nichiren Daishonin. We have the three presidents of the Soka Gakkai, and they all dedicated their lives to help us bring out our Buddhahood and use it and become really good at using it. And that's why there's three pillars in our Buddhist practice. There's faith, deepening our faith based on actual experiences, not blind faith, but actual experiences. And there is practice, which is the chanting of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which gives us access to the force and to this enlightened nature. And then there is study, because we need to understand what's happening, how it's happening. Both study and practice are only there to deepen our belief, because everything is determined by our faith. And it is those moments of faith and a shift in our determination and a shift in our faith that can cause dramatic experiences in people's lives. So I don't know if that's helpful for anybody to motivate them to try chanting, but if you think of it as, okay, I'm going to check out if there is such a thing as an enlightened nature, if I do have access to this force, and if you do feel anything from that experience, why wouldn't you want to get better at it? And those of us who've been practicing for a long time, we can always get better at it. You know, my husband always says, you're only as good as your last gongyo, which means it doesn't matter how many experiences you've had before in your practice, every single day is like a mini lifetime. And anybody who's been chanting for a long time knows that you can be really strong in your practice at one point and then kind of dim down, get a little bit stagnant. Or what can also happen is you're able to face a certain round of obstacles, but then an extra big one comes along and you're just not sure that you can do it this time. And now on a global level, we have got some major challenges. And this is why today I was really thinking about Star Wars. There is a literal battle going on right now in the world between positive forces for good that are coming from a place of compassion, of wisdom, of real courage. And then there are negative forces of destruction, of suffering, of hierarchy, of diminishing life. We literally have our own Star Wars battle going on in the world. And so if we look at that analogy, we really need the forces for good to get stronger. And the more of us that learn to use the force, the better. So maybe you don't actually want to chant or be a Buddhist. Maybe you have other ways that you are strengthening your life force and strengthening your contribution to the positive aspect of human life. And that's awesome. But for those of you who want to try chanting, who feel like, maybe it would be really good to have a new muscle, a new way of changing my life condition at times when it just gets really dark. So for those people who want to give it a shot, I'm going to explain how to chant. And the people that do know how to chant, I'm going to go over a reminder of why we do it and how we do it, because we really need to up our game in terms of strengthening the positive force on this planet. The chant is Nam Myo Ho Renge Kyo. Those are the syllables. It's pronounced Nam Myo Ho Renge Kyo. And there's definitions, there's meanings. Every character has layers of meaning. You can go to the websites and check that out on Soka Global, and Buddhability has some really great stuff. They also have videos on how to chant. But for now, I'm just going to do my quick little tutorial on how to chant. So number one, find a place where you live where there's a blank wall in front of you. You can chant out to nature, but otherwise blank wall is best because you don't want to be chanting to photos or idols or images, because they all have different energy. So you want a blank wall because you want a clear mirror. You want clarity. You don't want any distractions. So that's step one. So then you're going to sit straight simply because it's really good for breathing. It's also respectful to kind of sit straight when you're going to be focusing on your own life and really focusing on praising and respecting and revitalizing your own life. Kind of being all hunched over is not ideal. It's better if you can sit straight for the chanting, but you can be cross-legged, you can be on a couch or in a comfortable chair. So now we're going to talk about the chant. For today, the main thing that I want to focus on is the fact that Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is the vibration, it is the rhythm, it is the sound, it is the energy of your own enlightened nature. It is the sound and name and vibration of that force, if we were going to use Star Wars terminology. So when you say Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, there's an aspect of your life that responds and recognizes it. And the more that you focus and the more that you chant and the more of your heart that you put into it, the greater will be the response. Now, you don't have to believe anything. You can come to it completely skeptical and thinking, oh, this is ridiculous, this is so stupid. It's more important that you try it. However, if you're going to do it, why not put a little bit of heart into it if you're testing it out? As a quick definition, Nam is dedication, devote means I devote. Myoho Renge Kyo is the title of the Lotus Sutra, and every single character has a lot of meaning. The one thing I can tell you is Myoho Renge Kyo, with all of the layers of meaning it has, covers so many eternal principles. So within the characters of Myoho Renge Kyo, there is mention of a law of cause and effect. There is a mention of interconnectedness, of the importance of sound, vibration, of the lotus flower, which is a symbol of Buddhahood existing within impurity, and simultaneity of cause and effect, meaning that when you make a cause, there is an instant effect that will appear. And the ultimate cause is chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. So by chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo and calling up your enlightened nature, that is an incredibly powerful cause to be making for your life and for your future. So when you do chant, and it's your voice saying Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, that's you as a Buddha. That is the sound of your Buddhahood, of your life, which is why it's so important that when you chant, you listen to the sound of your own voice. You don't have to empty your mind. It's not meditation. You can think about different things. You can pray about different things. You can chant for people. There's all these things that can come and go while you're chanting, but it is important to try to listen to the sound of your own voice. And sometimes you can hear your voice change from the beginning of the chanting session to the end. I'm going to chant for a few minutes. I'm going to start off really slowly, and then I'm going to speed up. You can go slowly, you can go quickly, you can do it softly, you can do it loudly. The most important thing though is the rhythm. The breathing could be a challenge in the very beginning. When people have been chanting for a long time, many of us can go for a very long time and breathe right through the connections. So don't worry about the breathing. You'll get the hang of it. But this is the sound of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. I'm going to turn sideways because it's too weird to be chanting to my own face. And this is calling up the force. I'm going to hold my hands this way. Usually there's beads that we use, but you don't have to. It works just fine without them. I hold my hands this way, not because I'm begging or hoping or asking somebody or something to do something for me. This is a position of determination and declaration and decision. So we sit like this because it's a powerful position. It's a powerful position to sit in. So I'm going to start really, really slowly. I do not chant this slow normally, but just so you hear the sound and the rhythm and the breathing. And then I'm going to go faster and faster and faster to the kind of speed that I normally use. But you can do it at any speed. Here we go. Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. So you hear how the kyo goes right into the nam. That's the right way to do it. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. It's not stop. It's not Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, stop, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. That's not the chant. It's really important that it is a moving, consistent flow of energy and sound. Now you're going to hear medium speed, a little bit faster. So this is what that sounds like. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So you can see that's a little bit faster. When you come home and you're really mad or you're really upset, it might be a little bit faster. And also, if depending on the personality types, right? Some people just go faster and that's it. The most important thing is to put heart into it. So you can imagine if you come home and you're really upset about something, your chanting might sound more like this. Yo ho renge go nam 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 yo ho renge go. Actually, you don't have to be upset. That's just really passionate, vibrant chanting. That's not actually, you don't have to be mad for that. I wasn't mad. So we're encouraged to chant at the speed of a galloping horse, like galloping through the heavens. It is not the same thing as a horse plowing in the fields that's got all this heavy karma on its shoulder and barely getting through that field. When you think about a horse galloping in the universe, that is going to have some energy and that is going to have a little bit of speed. Think of Daisaku Ikeda's Daimoku. It is really galloping. It is creative. It is a summoning of life force. It is movement. It is exciting. It is dynamic. And it is an expression of life. My normal chanting sounds like this. So here we go. Nam Myoho Renge Go, 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 Nam Myoho Renge Go. Ho renge go nam yo 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 ho renge go ho renge go nam yo ho renge go nam yo ho renge go nam yo ho renge go. So I did it a bit longer there so you could get a sense of it. And quite honestly, I chant actually faster than that. But I think that was a good example of kind of a healthy, good galloping rhythm of chanting if you wanted to try. So there are samples of chanting on the Soka Global website. I'll put the links underneath this video. The voices sound a little bit like they're in an echo chamber. It's not the most natural sound, which is why I wanted to give you an example of just a regular person chanting, which is what I am. I just want to add a few words about why you might want to chant and some of the things that might happen when you do start chanting. So first of all, one of the most common things to happen is that you might have a little bit more energy, might have more clarity, you might feel more yourself. And if you are chanting about something very specific, you might have some of that situation come up even more strongly. And you might think, I'm chanting, why is it worse? If it does get worse, it's often because it is coming up for a true change. So, for example, when I was applying to get into the University of Toronto, I had a major issue with bureaucracy and authoritarianism and all that kind of stuff. I had to deal with a huge bureaucratic mess. But as I chanted through it, I realized that I needed to change something in my life in this area. So rather than just being angry and saying, to heck with this, I chanted through it and I completely transformed the situation. So you might have a little bit of an obstacle at first, but if it is something that it's in your life that's been dragging you down for quite some time, it has to come up so it can be completely altered. So the most important thing is to keep chanting through it. And that is why it's a good idea to set a chanting campaign rather than I'm just going to do it 3 days, but 3 months. I'm telling you, 100 days, awesome amount to pick. 3 weeks, sure, go for it. Whatever you want. 7 days, sure, maybe you'll feel something. But long term is important, or a little bit longer term, because you need to have enough time for things to come up, for you to transform them, for you to chant through them, and really see major shifts in your life. So the qualities that you are activating in your life when you chant, which is the big why of chanting, The qualities that you're bringing out is wisdom, which is really clarity. And who doesn't need clarity right now? It is courage. And who doesn't need courage right now? Because without courage, there's no hope. Without courage, nothing happens. There's no dreams coming true. Your life is full of limitations. So you need courage. Compassion, absolutely. You need 100% compassion for yourself, and you need compassion for other people for your life to be richer, wiser, bigger, happier. And you need energy. For those four things alone, chanting is one of the most powerful tools to have in your life. And again, if you want to be part of the Jedi, is it absolutely an amazing power to have access to build upon, and it is 100% yours. It is not reliant on anyone else or anything external. You are simply remembering what you are made of, and you are tapping into something that is inherent with you. It's not something that somebody's giving you, it's yours. So I think that kind of self reliant practice and powerful, liberating, creative practice is one of the best things that we could be doing right now. And we are going to need all the power and all the hope and all the positive force that we can get for the years ahead, and particularly at this moment in history. So if we go to the Star Wars example, which team do you want to be on? I definitely want to be a Jedi. So yeah, welcome to the Force, people. I would encourage you to be a Jedi and use that aspect of your life. I would highly recommend you give it a shot. And I would set a certain amount that you do every day. So when I started chanting, I started with 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes at night. The morning chanting is really important because that's the time when you really influence your day. Rather than like going out of the house being at the mercy of whatever is going to happen on that day. When you chant first, you are grounding yourself. You are really strengthening your own life force, so you can influence out much more strongly. And what you bring out, the qualities of enlightenment. WCCL, if you can't remember, wisdom, courage, compassion, and life force. So when you chant, you will see those qualities come out of your own life. It is not a wisdom that's reliant on anybody else, because nobody knows your life better than you do. It is a courage that you can have access to that's your own. And it is a compassion that will naturally come out of your life. And life force. Who doesn't need life force? So that is what you are doing when you get up in the morning and you say, I'm going to chant first. I'm not going to leave home without it. When I was younger, American Express had an ad campaign and they always said, don't leave home without it. So I always think of chanting that way, like don't leave home without it. If you're going to do it, try it, especially in the morning when you need it the most, before your day starts. There's no point working out after the race has happened. The same way that you wouldn't work out after a race, it's important to chant before the race begins, which is your day. Evening chanting is really great for getting a second wind or reflecting on the day, for getting ready for the next day. So morning, evening is what is recommended. Now, I started with 10 minutes and 10 minutes. And I really liked the effect. And I thought, what happens if I do 15 and 15? And then I did 30 and 30. And 1 hour a day was my basic practice for the bulk of my life. I know everyone's really busy right now, and you might be thinking, oh my gosh, an hour a day. Are you crazy? I'm too busy for that. I would say do your best. And I would also say, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't worth it. I would only do it if it made a difference. There's been times in my life where I've been super busy and I've ended up chanting more just because I had to be at the top of my game. I had to be in rhythm. I had to be really grounded, really strong in myself so that I wasn't affected by the external circumstances. Sometimes, even though you're busy, you might actually want to chant more, because that's when you need that inner life force. That's when you need the force, so to speak. So it's up to you how much. If you're going to test it out, it would be awesome if you did it for 100 days. When I started to practice, people would say, try practicing for 100 days, 3 months, right? An hour a day, go to SGI meetings, faith practice study. And I think if you do that, it's almost impossible not to have a benefit from it or not to have some kind of a result. You can determine to do it for 3 weeks. I don't know. It's really a very personal decision. But I would set a target date. Like, I'm going to chant between this day and that day. and I'm going to chant about this thing. So I think it's a really good idea to have something specific as well that you're chanting about, and chant about wanting to see proof. So many people who started practicing Buddhism and started chanting were really skeptical and were like, I don't know about this. And then they tested it. And that is the only reason they're still practicing decades later. They really tested it, and they set goals, determinations, and went, okay, let's see if this works. So I highly recommend writing down your goals on a piece of paper. Let's say you're chanting for whether it's job, something to do with relationships, something to do with your health, anything like that. Write it down on a piece of paper, put it on a little card next to where you chant. You don't have to stare at it or chant to it, but I think it is good to write stuff down. It makes it more physical. It's a deeper cause. I have found in the past couple of months, so many of the Buddhist members that I speak to, part of the initial victory is just to write down the actual prayer, to be very specific about what it is and write it in a way that really resonates in their life, right? So I think that part's important. So when you chant, it's not about repeating whatever that prayer is. I always say it's like the universe is not deaf. You don't have to keep repeating whatever that prayer is. It's better to just really determine, write it down, and chant. And you can chant towards it, you can chant about it, because sometimes great things come out of your chanting in terms of wisdom or ideas and that kind of thing. Just making the determination, putting it down on a piece of paper, looking at it once in a while is enough. But the chanting is the most important part. And the process of chanting is going from a place of thinking, wouldn't it be nice, to deepening your life, deepening your determination to a place of this will happen. This is how it's going to go. All of my breakthroughs in chanting have come from getting to a place of this is how it's going to go. Like where I'm so clear and so confident and so determined on the outcome. And then my external environment reflects that. So that's how you that's the goal setting part and the decision part. It's really great to join a Buddhist meeting and to meet other Buddhists, because then they can explain some of the stuff that's going on. You have access to encouragement. You have access to study. If you're too shy to go to a meeting or you're not ready yet, that's okay. But I guarantee you, like, connecting to SGI and going to Buddhist meetings will completely turbocharge your practice. It is important. Most important is that you start chanting and you give it a go. And if you like it, then please connect with SGI. You can go to the website and find your local organization. There's meetings going on all over the world, everywhere. And so for the people that already practice, I just want us all to remind each other of the power of our prayers and what it is that we're doing. Because I really feel like this time in history, this is our very own Star Wars battle, what is happening right now in the world. And there's nothing more important than all of us becoming stronger than ever, being completely unshakable, bringing out hope, bringing out courage, compassion, wisdom, all of that. This is a crucial moment in the history of the planet. So I just want to read a couple of quotes about active, creative prayer. Prayers are neither light dreams nor vague wishes. They should be firm pledges of determination. Prayers made with such strong resolve invite clear results, just as magnets attract iron. Prayer entails an intense challenge to believe in yourself and to stop diminishing who you are. To belittle yourself is to defile Buddhism and the Buddha within your own life. Prayer is an attempt to merge the inner workings of our life with the rhythm of the universe. So, with those three quotes, you can see the nuance of whether we're doing passive prayers or creative, active prayers. First quote, he's talking about making a decision and being clear that our determination is going to draw a response from the environment. In the second quote, he's talking about that battle against our own inner darkness, our doubts, our fears, our our stagnant attitudes in terms of, oh, my life has always been like this. It's always going to be like this. That's the darkness. Like when Star Wars talks about the dark side and the light side, we have our own dark side. And that dark side is all of that stuff: fear, doubts, insecurities, illusions about ourselves and who we are and our potential. And that's what we're fighting through. When we're chanting, it's a battle against all of that. And the one thing that our chanting should always be is a roar of a lion, where we remember who we are, what we're made of, and chant like a lion. The third quote is about merging with the universe, being in rhythm with the universe. Back to Star Wars. We're back to the Star Wars example. We are literally bringing out the force that's in our lives, harnessing it and using it for good, and winning in our own lives, because right now we have to win in our lives more than ever. We really got to be the Jedi now. We can't go down now. We can't spend too much time down. And it's so easy to go down based on my personal experience. All I have to do is put on the news and it is overwhelming. At the same time, this is why I go back to the Star Wars example. I don't think Luke Skywalker and the whole Jedi crew, when they saw the forces of Darth Vader and the stormtroopers and all of that, I'm sure it was overwhelming. It was intimidating, but at the same time, they knew how to use the force, and they knew all they needed to do was get better at using it and deepen their confidence. Like a huge part of Luke Skywalker's journey is him realizing his power and then getting really good at using it. And so we all have to get really good at using it. And this is also why chanting is not the same as meditation. Chanting is out loud, it is physical, it is vibrational, it is not quiet, it is very active. I also want to add to that this understanding that Daisaku Ikeda talks about. He says our voices reach all four corners of the universe. Our prayer, our voice, our Buddhahood reaches the whole universe. So this is the kind of confidence and awareness that we need to have when we chant. The other thing that turbocharges your prayers is when you add a vow to it or a promise to use your life for good, for Kozen Rufu, for making the world a better place, for making the world a more peaceful place. So when you combine your chanting with whatever the goal is, whether it's a car, a job, a partner, with a sense of, I want to use my potential in this world and I want to use it for good. I want to be part of the Jedi. And once you are using your life in that way, you can also be assured that you will also attract protection from the life around you. That is just a natural function of chanting and of life itself. So I just want to say a few more words about active prayer. I looked up all the synonyms for the word active, and they're all very inspiring. So for example, there is assertive, yielding, defiant, energetic, feisty, lively, nonconformist, which are some of my favorite notions. I'm going to read these one more time. This is the energy and spirit that's behind active prayer. Assertive, which means you are making the decision. You are declaring the way that you're going to change your life and change yourself. Unyielding means unshakable. No matter what happens, there's defiant in terms of any kind of negativity or disrespect, or defiant against your own negative karma. There is energetic. There's feisty. I've often been called feisty. I consider the word feisty a personal compliment if somebody calls me feisty. And then there is lively and nonconformist. So to practice Buddhism is never about conforming. Practicing Buddhism is becoming more yourself and bringing out your own individual potential while uniting and working with other people and respecting people more than ever. So in Buddhism, we talk about unity. Unity comes from the ability to embrace other people's differences. As we chant, what often happens with many people is that we are able to have more compassion for those people around us. We're able to embrace the differences of other people. And when we embrace differences, particularly within the Buddhist organization, because that's where we get a lot of practice, because there's all kinds of people there, when we develop this ability to embrace the lives of so many people that are different than ourselves, that's where the actual unity comes from. It is from a unity of heart, it's from a unity of respect, and it is the most powerful kind of unity, not a unity that comes from conformism. Daisaku Ikeda has said conformism is an incredibly negative force in the planet. So you will never be asked to conform. So let's look at the synonyms for passive: lifeless, inactive, apathetic, indifferent, quiet, static, uninvolved. Some of the other ones are acquiescent, asleep, compliant, motionless, non-resistant, resigned, submissive, unassertive. So when you think of those two different ways of approaching our lives and approaching prayer and approaching chanting, I'll let you decide which one you want to pick and which way you want to live. When you look at those two sides, you can understand why the chanting is meant to be at the speed of a galloping horse. You can understand why we talk about this thing called fighting daimoku, which means that we have a fighting attitude in our chanting, where we're really fighting against our own negativity, our own limitations, and we are fighting for the happiness of other people. And we're also fighting to change the direction of the planet. As Daisaku Ikeda had said, that the decade from the Soka Gakkai's 90th anniversary to its centennial in 2030 will be crucial. We must be even more determined to show victorious proof of our own human revolution to transform all great evil into great good and to effect a powerful change in the destiny of all humankind. So he had said this decade would be crucial, and now it's 2025. And absolutely, we are at an incredible turning point, and and we have another 5 years. So this is really our time to do that active kind of prayer that is assertive, unyielding, defiant, energetic, feisty, lively, and nonconformist. For the people who are thinking about chanting and the longtime chanters, I hope we can make a fresh start from today, from July 3rd, 2025, towards tomorrow, towards the next 5 years and the future. So thank you so much. And may the force be with you. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Have a great week ahead. And if you have any questions, any suggestions as well, add it in the comments below. So thank you again, and we'll see you next week.